Hello and welcome to Bulimia Sucks. I'm your host, Kate Hudson Hall, and thank you so much for listening. Now, this is a platform for people to share relatable and uplifting and inspiring conversations based on bulimia, anorexia, and all of those other horrific eating disorders. And episodes include talking with professionals who work with people with an eating disorder and who also may have had their own struggles with an eating disorder. And we also talk to people that are going through an eating disorder or maybe have recovered from an eating disorder and the difficult steps in their recovery. So, as many of you may know, I am a psychotherapist and I work with my clients who have eating disorders, and I've created a free Bulimia Sucks course to help you get started on your recovery pathway. So if you would be interested in that, if you go to my website, which is katehudson-hall.com, and there is a sign-up form on the homepage for you to sign up for, and then you can gain access to the course. And the other thing that I've been talking about and been doing is creating eating disorders coloring books, and they are out now on Amazon. So I've created 4 of these. So there's one for bulimia, one for anorexia, one for binge eating, and then also there is an anxiety stress relieving coloring book. Oh, I'm very excited about these. And there is 35 plus pages of a mandala on each with a positive quote over the top of the mandala for you to color in. And then on the opposite page, there is 1 or 2 questions that you can learn from that quote about yourself to help you in your recovery. So I'm very excited about these. And if you would like to check them out, if you go to Amazon and put my name into Amazon, they will all come up. So now I'm very excited today with our special guest, Berenice Mills. Now, Berenice is French, and she is actually a French 30 years young, we like that, yoga therapist who specializes in eating disorders. And she graduated from her yoga therapy course, writing her thesis on yoga therapy for eating disorders. And then she went on to develop an 8-week yoga course for the treatment of eating disorders. What a fantastic idea. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that. Now, Berenice recovered from a decade of eating disorders, which included anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, and over-exercising. And yoga felt like the missing piece of the puzzle in her recovery. It's helped her reconnect to her body in a way that no other physical activity did, teaching her to respect, feel, listen to, and take care of her body and of her soul. Yoga has incredible benefits to restore the brain chemicals, digestive system, bone density, joint pain, nervous system, and that list goes on, all impacted by an eating disorder. So we want to hear more about that too. Yoga is her passion, and sharing it with people recovering from an eating disorder is what makes her jump out of bed with joy every day. I love that. That's great. So Berenice, welcome. Fabulous to have you here.
Thank you, Kate. Hi, everyone listening. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, no, it's great that you could join us. So now, Berenice, do you have a funny story for us?
Yes. A funny story during my eating disorders. It was another bulimia episode. And at that time, I was au pair. So I was taking care of two little boys in a family. And it's often when I was by myself and when, of course, the boys were at school that I ended
Yeah.
up, like grazing for food and snacking. And often it ended up in me binging. So I would just look for food everywhere in the house. And of course, I ended up just finding the kids' cabinet, with all the chocolates, the little candies and sweets. Um, and there was this Easter Bunny chocolate. And I was like, yeah, let's, you don't even think, you're just in a trance and you want to
Absolutely.
eat.
You are just on autopilot.
So I just ate the whole chocolate bunny. And then I realized, oh no, now I have to replace it. I have to find the same, because whenever, of course, I will steal food from the family, I will replace it and make sure that, I just gave everything back for them not noticing, and also for respect for them. So I went to the store and I bought the candies and chocolates, and I realized it was Christmas time and I was not able to find an Eastern bunny during Christmas. So I came back home and I called a friend, and of course I was desperate and I cried. I was just like, I'm just such a bad person. I just ate the
Oh.
chocolate bunny and how can I replace it? Now it's Christmas. And my friend just laughed with me and she was just, it's fine, just buy a chocolate Santa. They probably won't notice it.
Is that
So
what
that's
you did?
yeah, that's how the chocolate bunny transformed into chocolate Santa.
It was magic.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great story. So, Benny, so tell us, should we start at the beginning when you had your eating disorders?
Absolutely. It started when I was 16 and a half. And at that time, I was living with my mom. My parents are divorced, and she found a new boyfriend who was living a bit far away from the house. So I couldn't live with them because my high school was too far from this new place. So the deal was that I would stay at my place, and my mom and my brother and sister would be together with her new boyfriend, and I would just meet them during the weekend. So for the first time of my life, I ended up being by myself, and I didn't know it would impact me this badly. And the eating disorder started with a naive diet. Just watched the video show, and they showed how obese people were being treated to lose weight. And they mentioned the number, like, oh, you have to eat less than 1,600 calories a day. And in my young mind, I was like, oh, if I want to lose weight, I just need to eat less than this number. I didn't need to lose weight. And I feel the eating disorder mindset has always been here. I've always been snacking a bit like in secrecy when I was sad or things like this.
Right.
There was a lot of body talk, especially from my mom, a lot of weight talk and, oh no, don't eat that, don't eat so much of this, it's too much fat, or, like little things.
Yeah.
But
And they all add up, don't they?
exactly, they just all got in my mind. And you know how they say that eating disorder is just being triggered by the environment, and it can be anything triggering it. It's like there already, but then something happens and it starts. So that's what happened when I was 16 and a half. And from there was anorexia, restricting. And of course, when I couldn't starve myself anymore, I would go into full binge and bulimia. So many years of the roller coaster. And in the end of the eating disorders, it was a lot of restriction, controlling, orthorexia, overexercising, until one day I just couldn't do it anymore. And I asked for help. I was just begging for help on my knees, like praying to whoever was listening to me, because I was not spiritual at all at that time. And I was just asking for help. And from that time, I just joined a recovery group, support group, 12-step program.
Right.
And it was very helpful, for the start. Then I found therapy, yoga, meditation. trauma therapy later on, and I'm still working, personally with my therapist
Good.
regularly. So
Yeah.
that's my
So,
journey.
so if we can just backtrack a moment, Bernie. So, what do you feel sort of guided you to make that decision that you were going to have a look and reach out for help? What do you think the turning point was?
There were several things. I had turned 25, and on the outside, I had it all figured out. I ticked all the boxes. And yet inside, I felt miserable, desperate, and depressed. And there was no one I could talk to. I felt no one would understand. And
it's so very lonely, isn't it, when you're sort of in the depths of it?
And
because you don't
especially,
know, you don't want to be judged, and it's difficult to find that specific person that you could trust, but there
and
will
I
be somebody.
there would be somebody, and the thing is that I was perfect on the outside. I was not
Yeah.
too chubby, I was not too skinny. People thought I was healthy. I was eating so perfectly, quote unquote, and exercising, and I was even a model. I had opened up about my eating disorders to my mom, but she always said that it was something that would pass with time. She thought it was just during teenage time. Sometimes we
You
go
grow
through
out
phases
of.
like
Yeah.
this. Yeah. And I had been frustrated because I had seen two therapists, and I was honest. I told them what was going on and my willingness to
Good.
recover.
Yeah.
And the two of them told me, "Oh, but I think you're already far in your recovery. It sounds like you're doing it, so you don't need me." So I had been turned back twice, and I don't know if it's
So
because
why do you think they said that to you?
I believe now, from my yoga therapist perspective, that they were scared that they didn't have the knowledge
Right.
and tools to help me, because it's very specific and complex to help someone with eating disorders. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And I suppose if you looked okay as well, all the more reason for them to sort of guide you out the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this is a really good point to talk about, because when you get to that point and you are looking for a therapist for that help, it's so important to find a therapist that you feel comfortable with, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that you feel relaxed and open enough to be able to, well, open the door and talk about those deep, dark feelings that you have. So it's so important. If you go to see somebody and you don't feel that you can do that, then that's okay. You can move on and find another therapist.
Yeah. That's the issue I have with some of my clients. They come to me and they tell me I've been in therapy for 2 or 3 years, and I just didn't feel any connection with the therapist. I felt I was just talking to a blank wall, and I feel sad when there's this lack of attunement and connection with the person. Yeah. But anyways.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. So then you did the 12-step program. So for people that don't know what that is, because normally, well, particularly in the UK, when they hear a 12-step program, they're normally thinking of Alcoholics Anonymous, or yeah. So explain to them what it is.
Yes, that was quite some time ago now. How I came up about this group support group, I started to meditate, which had been life changing.
Lovely.
And I was on this mobile app, and you could see who was meditating nearby your neighborhood and say, "Oh, thank you for meditating together," whatever. And I connected with this man, and I said, "Oh, you're from, that place, and that's great." And I asked him, why did you start meditating? And he explained, like, I'm recovering from drug addiction, and like in my program, they recommend us to meditate. That's why I'm here. And I was like, "Oh, I don't have a drug addiction, but I'm more addicted to food." And we started to talk, and he said, "Well, maybe you could join one of these groups also, because they have it for food." And it was in October, and I was like, no, I don't need help. I'm good. And
Mhm.
that was just before my 25th birthday, when I really felt like, no, I need help. I cannot do this any longer. So I did some research, and there was a group in my area, a meeting in person. And basically, this program is based on, the 12 steps of Alcoholic Anonymous. And you have several steps. Like, the first one is to admit your disease or addiction or alcoholism. Then from memory, you have to, like, look for a sponsor. Then you have to make amends to people you might have hurt with your eating disorders or drug addiction or anything else. Then it's surrendering to the God of your understanding. So there are many different concepts, and
Yeah.
it's been very helpful because at that time I had no one to talk to. And it was the first time I could go to a place with a group of people who could relate to what I was going through, and who were also sharing about their challenges, their illness, and who were just welcoming, kind, and non-judgmental. And this
Yeah,
had never
non-judgmental.
happened.
Sorry?
Yes. And this had never happened in my life before.
Yeah, and non-judgmental, because they know what you're going through.
Yeah.
And so many people I know that have been through this program, and they found it so powerful to help them move forward in their recovery.
It was definitely a great first step. And at the same time, I was starting to really practice meditation daily. I was doing more and more yoga. I had stopped all over exercising activities like running every day and all of that. So there were really big shifts happening all together at the same time.
Wow. And then you started to see a therapist. You found a therapist that you felt comfortable with.
That was a bit after, because what happened is that I had lost my job. The company I worked in went bankrupt, so they had to let us go. And I was living in another country, and I felt it was time for me to leave. I was not happy there anymore. And I wanted to follow my passion for yoga. So I went to India and I stayed there for 6 months.
Oh, how fabulous.
So
Oh,
that was
that's the
also,
place to learn it, isn't it?
it is. And it was a big, courageous step also. And
Yeah.
it was getting in the way of the eating disorder. So many things, many things at the same time. And after training and graduating from my yoga courses, I went back to Europe, and that's when I met my therapist that I'm still working with sometimes. And it was a trauma therapist. And at that time, I didn't know it was a trauma therapist. She just told me what she was doing. I felt safe with her. She had a lot of compassion. She was offering this safe space. So I was like, yeah, let's work together. And later on, we started to work on trauma and inner child and all of that. I was like, oh, okay, that's what it's about.
Yeah. Excellent. And then, so what happened with regards to the yoga then? So you came back from India, and then
I started to teach, and I
you
was
started to
still
teach.
practicing myself, because I really believe in teaching what you practice, walk the walk.
Yeah.
And I felt I wanted to bring something else than just a yoga class. For me, yoga had been healing, and I wanted to share that with people who are suffering from eating disorders.
Yeah.
And that's something I always had in the back of my mind. Like when I was struggling, I was promised myself, if I ever overcome eating disorders, which at that time I thought was impossible, I promised that I would help other people overcome eating disorders. So I just Googled, like yoga therapy trainings, because I really wanted to go more in that direction. And I ended up finding a great yoga therapy course in London. So I signed up for 2 years. It was part-time, so I traveled back and forth.
Right.
And it was almost 3 years training when you include the case studies and the thesis and all of that. And I graduated, and I'm so grateful I've done that, because it's like my purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you set up the course. You created a course, a specific course.
It was, sorry, go ahead.
So tell us about the course. So it's specifically for people with eating disorders.
It is a course for people with bulimia, anorexia, binge eating disorders. I mean, anyone can join, you know.
So before you tell us about that, can people access this online?
I am not teaching it at the moment. I have delivered it privately to my clients, and maybe in the near future, you know, like to do
in the
online group
future, we
classes.
need an online yoga course for people with eating disorders, if you don't mind.
All right, Kate, got it.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
I mean, it's because I I haven't had the demon yet, and I'm working on other projects, but it's
Yeah,
still there.
yeah,
You know, it's written and I've delivered it, so it's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to that. Anyway, so carry on. So tell us about the course.
Yeah, it's an 8-week course, you know, and it's a very gentle way of practicing yoga, because yoga, it's not only the physical aspect, it's much more than that. It's also including the breathing, the meditation, the concentration, the, you know, like also moral principles. So you get a bit of all of that each week, and it's a way to support you on your journey, you know. To help you self-regulate and really to support you. It's not going to heal you, it's going to help you and support you. And what I like is that it's just grounding people often. It's helping them to have an hour from themselves where they tell me sometimes it's the only hour when I don't think of food and the eating disorder.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it'll be like pressing. I teach mindfulness, and my eating disorders clients and other clients, they say to me, it's the only time when we practice it, it's the only time that they have a reprieve, they have a break. It's like pressing the pause button with that negative mind and giving them a break. Yeah, so powerful.
Yeah.
And so how specifically does yoga help people with an eating disorder?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, it's a great way to reconnect to your body, because from personal experience and my clients' experience, eating disorders, it's like living 95% of your time in your head.
And most
Or,
people are in their head, aren't they?
yeah,
There
most
is
of
no
them.
connect with their body.
Yeah. And it's just bridging the gap between the mind and the body and really reconnecting yourself with your body. And that's the beauty of it, because when we suffer from eating disorders, we want our body to be a certain way. We want to shape it or have it this weight or whatever, but we're not truly being present with our body right here, right now. So yoga really helps to develop this self-acceptance, this kindness, this non-violence. There's a concept called ahimsa, and it's compassion, non-violence, and it develops, you know, throughout the practice, and just learning to breathe, to move your body and all of that. It's not, oh, you have to learn compassion right now. No, 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 it's not forced. It's just, you know, unfolding naturally. Yoga is also great to regulate your nervous system. I found out that people with eating disorders are a lot in the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight. So just helping you to relax, to get out of fight or flight, to come back to more rest, restore, and digest. It's truly healing and helpful for the mind, the body, and the soul.
So into the parasympathetic.
Yeah, exactly. We move
So
from
we have these two sympathetic nervous systems, don't we? One's called the parasympathetic, one's called the sympathetic. The sympathetic, like you said, is the fight or flight, is that fearful, anxious state. And then the parasympathetic is that normal, calm, relaxed state. So yeah, by practicing yoga, it'll bring you back into that nice, calm, relaxed state, into the parasympathetic state.
Yeah. And yoga with, you know, gentle movements, like, for example, wrist rotation and all of that, very simple and gentle, because it's nothing like physical exercise. We're just lubricating the joints and easing some pain in the body. We're also bringing some more fluidity, some gentle movement to get this blocked energy unstuck. and that's very helpful. You don't need to do a lot. I tell my clients, if you can practice 10 minutes daily for 5 days a week, you will see the results within 1 month. You would be
I like
amazed.
that.
And yoga is also like helping to rebalance your brain chemicals. So for example, someone with anorexia might have high levels of dopamines and low levels of serotonin. That's why they're overly anxious, excited,
Yeah.
and they tend to be also a bit negative and not so happy. Hence, using starvation as a way to not feel this, because they feel that when they eat, they have even more energy. They feel even more anxious, stressed out, and down. So just cutting food is really regulating, the way of regulating themselves. On the contrary, someone with bulimia will have low dopamine, so low motivation, and like having issues to just have some energy, and low serotonin too. And after practicing yoga for a while, many research have shown that your dopamine level, your serotonin just gets rebalanced. So there's a kind of equilibrium that comes from practicing yoga. And like the physical movement, but also the breathing, the meditation, and all of that. So it's really a combination. And the bone density. Some research show that it's helping the bone density. So for women with anorexia or even osteoporosis, it's a great way to bring back some bone density. And if it's not possible because it's too advanced, at least it's maintaining a healthy bone density. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fascinating. Yeah. Wow, there's so many positives there. We all need to start to practice yoga.
Yeah, and
We
I
do.
just want to jump back on what you said. It's so positive, but it depends on the way it's being done and practiced.
Right. So what does that mean?
Because some people can go for yoga and go for the dynamic hot yoga practice, in the hope of losing weight, sweating it out, whatever. And yoga can be a downside because the yoga world can portray a picture that is very different from reality, and showing these young slim ladies doing like contortionism. It's almost impossible to reproduce. And praising a vegan diet or yogic diet and detox and all of that, like this very pure aspect of yoga. And that's what you don't want for people with eating disorders, because it can turn into a disordered eating, and it can turn into another way of trying to shape yourself, to change yourself. And that's what we don't want. We just want you to reconnect to yourself, to discover your true self and be yourself and accept yourself as you are.
Perfectly said. Yeah, that's a very good point, isn't it? So if somebody was looking for some help and wanted to go down the yoga route, what would you suggest to them?
First, congratulations. Well done for taking the step.
Thank you.
And look for a beginner's class, Hatha Yoga, Hatha. That's the traditional yoga.
Right.
Talk to your teacher first. You can even call the studio, to get a feeling of who's the owner, what is the vibe. I feel it's really important.
Yeah.
And if you have the strength and courage, you can talk to the teacher at the end of the class and say, hey, listen, I have, some eating disorders, or I have some mental health issues. You don't need to go into the details and say, can you please, tell me what I should do? And I mean, a yoga teacher is not a therapist, of course, but when they know how they can help you, it's better for them. Then they're going to be able to provide maybe some more relaxation in the class for you.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So just be open. If you have physical pain, like just tell them. And if it's a good experience, yoga teacher, they're going to know how to help you and handle you. And if they're brand new and they don't know, you will see it. They're going to be like, ugh. And maybe you don't want that, it's like a therapist. You want someone whom you feel safe with, someone who's creating that space, that environment. So it's very important also for yoga class that you feel good and that you feel safe to practice and safe to open up.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we need to have a look around our local areas and find a good yoga teacher and
You
open
will
up to
feel
them.
it. Yeah, and if it's too much for you, if I know that some of my clients tell me I can't go to a studio, I feel so ashamed of my body and I don't want to show up in a tight leggings. A, you don't need a tight leggings, and B, you can start yoga on YouTube. Go for beginners videos just for 10 minutes. Make sure you don't hurt yourself. Listen to your body
The
first.
hatha yoga.
Yeah, or beginners yoga. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's very good. And then you can do it from home.
Exactly.
Just and start to reap those benefits.
Yeah.
Oh, Berenice, thank you so much. So tell us where people can find you.
Well, you can find me on YouTube, actually. I have a YouTube channel, so it's Berenice Miles, Berenice, and Miles.
So we'll put the link anyway in the details.
So
have you got many videos on there? Because I haven't had a look.
I have a 135 videos or something. So
you then. So is there beginners?
It's mostly beginners. It's a lot of relaxation.
Oh, come on. We all need to get on there. We all need to start doing our yoga.
And my goal is really to keep it gentle and doable. So it's 10, 15 minutes practice to make it easy for you to fit it in your daily life, Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, we need to go there and have a look. And how else can people get in contact with you? Your website?
Facebook. Yeah, website, not so much. I mean, I have a website, so it's berenicemiles.com. Otherwise, on Facebook, my first name, last name, and just befriend me. I'm really happy to connect with people one-on-one. I feel sometimes the online world can be very not so social, so I like to connect with people like one-on-one and talk. And so
yeah. And if people have questions or want to know more, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Pop a comment, on YouTube, or send me a friend request on Facebook or a little messenger message. I'm always happy to answer.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Well, thank you so much, Berenice. All of the, this important information for people to understand. It's just a whole huge pathway that people could take to be able to, to get themselves to feel physically and mentally, closer along their pathway of recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and we're all looking forward to hearing about your course for eating disorders. No pressure.
No, I don't feel it, Kate. Not at all.
Or you'll have to come back on when you've done it, and you could tell us all about it.
Yeah, I can keep you updated. That sounds like a great invitation.
Yeah, that would be great. It would be, because it's so powerful, and the advice that you've given here today is just so helpful, relevant for people to be able to help themselves.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Berenice, so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, Kate, for having me, and for anyone listening.
Yeah, thank you. So that's all for today's episode of Bulimia Sucks. And if you haven't already checked it out, check out my book Bulimia Sucks on Amazon to learn many different techniques to help you to begin to break through your painful bulimic behaviors. And I'd love to hear what you think, so it would be great if you could leave a review. And make sure you come and join our Facebook group, Bulimia Sucks, if you haven't already, where it is great to connect with like-minded people and, and chat about your ups and downs, or hear what they have to say with their ups and downs. So come and find us. That would be fantastic. So thank you to everybody for listening, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next episode.